Good afternoon. My name is Scott Caffina. I am the Burlington County Prosecutor. Thank you for coming today. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the Florence Township Police Department and the Burlington County Prosecutor's Office Financial Crimes Unit and High Tech Crimes Unit for their skilled and dedicated work in conducting this investigation. On the evening of November 10th, 2017, Mark D'Amico, the boyfriend of Caitlin McClure, took a photograph of McClure and Johnny Bobbitt Jr., a homeless man, standing at the Girard Avenue exit ramp on Interstate 95 in Philadelphia. Within hours of taking this photo, McClure and D'Amico created a charitable campaign on the website GoFundMe.com with the title of Paying It Forward. The campaign featured a sympathetic tale of a homeless veteran, Johnny Bobbitt, who came to McClure's aid one night after she ran out of gas at that location with no money. The story, as it was told, had Bobbitt cautioning McClure to stay inside the car and lock the doors while he went to a gas station. There, he used what little money he had to purchase a can of gas and bring it back so McClure can get home safely. The photograph taken by D'Amico and posted by McClure quickly became the face of the fundraiser purportedly to benefit Bobbitt following this alleged selfless act. The Paying It Forward story that drove this fundraiser might seem too good to be true. Unfortunately, it was. The entire campaign was predicated on a lie. Less than an hour after their GoFundMe page went live, McClure, in a text exchange with a friend, stated that the story about Bobbitt assisting her was fake. Specifically, she wrote, "Okay, so wait, the gas part is completely made up, but the guy isn't. I had to make something up to make people feel bad. So shush about the made up stuff." She did not run out of gas on an I-95 off-ramp, and he did not spend his last $20 to help her. Rather, D'Amico, McClure, and Bobbitt conspired to pass off a fake, feel-good story that would compel donors to contribute to their cause. And it worked, in a very big way, but it was fictitious and illegal, and there are consequences. My office has charged Mark D'Amico, Caitlin McClure, and Johnny Bobbitt Jr. with second-degree theft by deception and conspiracy to commit theft by deception. D'Amico and McClure surrendered last night here in Mount Holly and were released pending a December 24th court date. Bobbitt was taken into custody yesterday in Philadelphia, where he awaits an extradition hearing. The stated goal of this campaign, as expressed on the GoFundMe site, was to raise $10,000 to provide Bobbitt with, among other things, first and last month's rent at an apartment, a reliable vehicle, and 4 to 6 months' worth of expenses. But this was an irresistibly heartwarming tale, and the trio's international media blitz to promote the fraudulent campaign convinced more than 14,000 donors to contribute a total of nearly $403,000 during last year's holiday season to help Johnny Bobbitt. We have been working with GoFundMe, which has provided its full cooperation to our office during our investigation. GoFundMe has informed me that in light of the charges announced today, it will be providing a full refund to all donors to the Paying It Forward campaign. Now, the net proceeds generated by the GoFundMe campaign after fees amounted to more than $367,000, which was electronically deposited into accounts controlled by McClure. By his own estimate, Bobbitt received approximately $75,000 of the money from D'Amico and McClure, but he wanted his fair share of the take and initiated legal action in August 2018 when his Confederates refused to turn it over. By that point, though, the money was long gone. As you will see in the probable cause statement we provided, by the middle of March, D'Amico and McClure squandered the vast majority of the money contributed by donors who intended to help a homeless veteran. Among other things, they bought a car, took trips, purchased high-end handbags, and hit the casinos hard. Our Financial Crimes Unit and High Tech Crimes Unit reviewed more than 60,000 text messages during the investigation, including thousands between McClure and D'Amico discussing the couple's financial woes, inability to pay bills, and mounting debts. During one exchange in March 2018, McClure lamented that the pair had less than $10,000 remaining from the donors to Paying It Forward. But D'Amico wasn't worried. He was certain the payday from the book deal they were pursuing would dwarf the money generated by the GoFundMe campaign. A few months later, when the dispute with Bobbitt became public, D'Amico was not dissuaded. Instead, he pitched a title for the book that would encompass the controversy, No Good Deed. Some might ask whether Bobbitt was an easy mark for D'Amico and McClure, and wonder whether he understood that he was taking part in such a hustle. Let me say this about Johnny Bobbitt. He deserves our appreciation for his willingness to serve our country as a United States Marine, and he has our sympathy and concern for the homelessness he has experienced, as well as his publicized struggle with addiction. But it is imperative to keep in mind that he was fully complicit with this scheme to defraud contributors, promoting the campaign in multiple media appearances and posing with D'Amico and McClure for a Philadelphia Inquirer story in front of a gas station that he did not buy gas from. The generosity of the individuals who were moved by Bobbitt's supposed good deed and their hope and belief that they could make a difference prompted them to send money in an effort to better his quality of life. But they were taken advantage of, and that is disappointing, because this type of case can damage the psyche of the public. A case like this can make generous people skeptical and a little more hesitant to help someone else in need. I urge you not to let that happen. There is a lot of hardship in the world, and it is commendable to show generosity to those in need. It is also appropriate to punish those who seek to evoke sympathy from others under false pretenses and then exploit the situation for financial gain. I advise those who are considering contributions to use caution and common sense when donating. That's all I have. I'll take any questions.
Sir, what responsibility do we all have for wanting to tell this feel-good story, and how do we prevent it from happening in the future?
Well, I think that's a question you have to answer for yourself if you're asking about your own responsibility. I mean, look, they put out a story that hoodwinked an awful lot of people. And I'm not sure that the hard questions that you might have asked would have necessarily uncovered the truth or not. So we had the advantage of an investigation that got to the bottom of this.
If they hadn't started fighting over the money, would they have gotten away with this?
There's a good chance they might have.
Are they in custody?
McClure and D'Amico have been released. Johnny Bobbitt is in custody in Philadelphia awaiting an extradition hearing back to New Jersey.
Which one of the three actually came up with the gig? I know you said they sort of conspired, but who had the great idea that we're going to play this thing out, and then they all jumped on?
Well, we weren't privy to every conversation that they had. The trio knew each other for about a month, or at least, before the campaign went live. And I would say this, that all of them joined into it, and all of them were on board as of November 10th when Johnny Bobbitt and Kate McClure took that picture, and within hours that picture went live. I would also note that in 2012, Johnny Bobbitt posted a remarkably similar story on his Facebook page out of North Carolina, where he reported that he helped a woman who had both run out of gas and had a flat tire at a Walmart, spent his supper money to get her on her way and fix her flat tire. I don't think that that's a coincidence.
Did that make it progressing well?
Do you think, Scott, at
Does
this
that give you
point?
any indication that it was his idea? The 2012 post?
Well, that certainly was out there, but, and so, whether it was D'Amico who picked up on that or Kate who picked up on it, I would ascribe to all three of them. That was just sort of a starting point that they could have worked from, and it did wind up being the narrative of the fraudulent campaign.
What sort of time
Yes, sir.
did you
Hey.
think, when you started this investigation a couple of months ago, that this would wind up the way it wound up?
Well, I'm trained to be skeptical, but you never know. And so we approached the evidence that anything was possible, and we went where the evidence led us, and this is unfortunately where it is.
I'm sure somebody's talking, but how did the investigation start? How did the investigation begin? I'm sure it's in here, but...
No, that's okay. We began the investigation really with the allegations out of both the media and then the civil litigation, and certain things that didn't ring true to us. Just the very allegation that money that was raised for Johnny Bobbitt was not turned over to him. If all of the story was true, that in itself would get our attention. But then the multiple discrepancies in the civil litigation, that the money was there on a Friday or a Thursday that their lawyer represented, and by that Monday of Labor Day weekend, the representation that the money was all gone. So all of that got our attention.
What sort of time behind bars, if any, do they face?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
What
that.
sort of time behind bars, if any, do they face?
So second degree, they've all been charged with second degree crimes. Second degree crimes in New Jersey carry a potential sentence between 5 and 10 years.
How did McClure and Yanko meet Johnny Bobbitt? How did their circles first intersect?
Right. So Johnny Bobbitt used to hang out near an underpass or near this off ramp, and this off ramp happens to be near the Sugar House Casino. And McClure and D'Amico frequented that casino, and I think they ran into him on their trips there. Started talking to him, befriended him, gave him $10 or some coffee or some food, and it grew from there.
Did that previous story in 2012?
Was there ever any video surveillance of the three of them?
I'm sorry, Cindy, I didn't hear you.
Prosecutor, if you're able to reveal, was there video evidence of the three together at Sugar House Casino or any other casino?
I'm not
prior
able-
to the launch of the campaign.
I'm not able to reveal anything like that.
Prosecutor, can you address the fact, sir, that if it's a second-degree crime in this instance, if I don't know if they've been charged with crimes before, would you normally seek jail time? What do you think is an appropriate way to proceed here?
Well, I'm not going to presume a sentence until we have a conviction. So when it comes to time for that, the court obviously would make a decision, but I imagine that we will be seeking jail time in this case.
Have you interviewed Bobbitt as part of your investigation? Have you interviewed Bobbitt as part of your investigation?
I'm not going to comment on the particulars of our investigation.
Any other idea? Any other?
Has anyone expressed remorse?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Any other information on the 2012 incident you can tell us about?
No, other than the posting, I'm not sure if it
Did it make
happened
the
or
news?
not. Not that I'm aware of.
Can you tell us?
You mean at the time, in 2012?
Did they
Yes,
supply him
2012.
with, did they supply
There's no
him-
indication that we have that the 2012 incident made the news.
Can you tell us briefly who the folks are behind you? You don't have to name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
So
okay.
I mentioned the Florence Township Police Department who helped us in the investigation, and our high-tech crimes unit and our financial crimes unit. All these folks contributed heavily to our investigation.
Did they ever supply Bobbitt, who had a pretty nasty heroin habit, with heroin? But did they ever give him narcotics? There's some indication that maybe they were and did.
I'm not going to comment on anything like that.
Prosecutor, you had mentioned that this should not dissuade people who want to help others with this kind of GoFundMe stuff. Is there any way to check this kind of stuff out? Because, I mean, this was not, they just came up with this story and people said, oh, they opened their hearts and their wallets.
Yeah, well, there's a few ways. I mean, for one thing, as I said, it really behooves people to be cautious and do investigations of charities that they may be contributing to. The other thing I would add is that the New Jersey Attorney General's Office Division of Consumer Affairs, who I hoped would actually be able to participate today, I think that the snowstorm got them sidetracked on their way. But I wanted the director, Paul Rodriguez, to be able to say a few words about how people could protect themselves. But one of the things that I anticipated him saying is that on the Division of Consumer Affairs website, there is information that people can look up to be careful about how to donate to charitable causes.
Scott, in terms of the two attorneys who did the pro bono work for Bobbitt, they got to be scratching their heads too. I mean, do they have any recompense? Do they feel anything?
You mean as victims, or? Well, I don't know what they knew. You'll have to ask them about how this affects them and their representation.
Was he actually homeless? I mean, was he homeless for any period, and how much during the time are you aware that he actually was homeless?
Yeah, I believe he was homeless. Where we picked him up yesterday, he was in a. We believe that in the last few months he had. I think it's been reported that he was in rehab for a period of time, and he had a roof over his head for the last few weeks at least. But there was a period of time that he was homeless, in fact.
Was he that smooth? I mean, he had two attorneys, as he says, two attorneys from Cosa and O'Connor doing pro bono for him, showing up in court. This guy is that smooth with his addiction and his troubles, in your opinion.
You'll have to talk to those attorneys about his interaction with them. I don't know what they discussed.
How much did narcotics play a role in this? I mean, we talk about Johnny Bobbitt having an addiction issue, but I mean, the other two, did narcotics play a role? And then is there any evidence of that?
Well, narcotics are incredibly tragic. I'm in no position to make any allegations about any of them using narcotics, other than Johnny having the publicized history. As I said, we feel for him. I've made it a major priority of mine to fight drug abuse, not just from a enforcement point of view, but also in expanding access to treatment. I hope that Johnny finds a way to get himself well and turn his life around.
Is
But
there
as far as
any
squandering
indication
the
that
money.
other people use the money knowing that it was for donations and that other charges may be coming?
At this time, we do not anticipate any additional charges against any other defendants. However, our investigation is continuing.
Prosecutor, under New Jersey law, you mentioned a potential book deal. Are they able to profit off of their story and off of their crime?
Dave, that's something we'll have to get back to you on.
Prosecutor?
Yes, sir.
The report that the GoFundMe effort raised $400,000. I think your paperwork says it was $367,000. Can you clarify?
Sure. The gross donations were 402 and change, and the net after whatever fees, I don't know what arrangement that GoFundMe had at the time, but that was basically their administrative fees, and that's what the difference is. So they netted 367.
What was Johnny getting out of this? He didn't get much of the money. The trailer they bought him, of that $75,000, they sold and they kept the money. What was he getting out of this? Was there more than just feeding a drug habit?
Well, if it went as, hopefully they planned, I think he anticipated either a bigger split or all of the money, or certainly a good portion of it, and that's why he wound up suing. So, Johnny was looking to get the money. Whatever arrangements that they had in terms of how they might have split it, either at the beginning or how that evolved, I'm not at liberty to say right now.
Does it appear that gambling was the main way that the money was quote unquote squandered? I mean, they live in a very humble means from what we could see.
There was a tremendous amount of money spent, or I should say withdrawn near casinos or in casinos. And there was a substantial amount of money. I believe our probable cause is about $20,000+ that's specifically for casino play that we identified. And I think maybe $89,000 of cash withdrawals in and around casinos.
Because it still seems like a big gap that we still don't know what happened to $50,000 to $100,000. I mean, just looking at the 75 they're saying he got to the plus 90 plus the cars and stuff like that, still seems like a big gap.
Well, a lot of it went in cash. And so that could have gone to casinos or any other use. And we detail in the probable cause statement a lot of other ways that the money was misspent.
So despite Bobbitt's, working with these folks to come up with this sort of scenario here, he apparently didn't realize that if he brought a civil claim against the wrongdoers, his fellow wrongdoers, it might blow the whole thing up. That was not in his mindset. You could tell.
I can't speculate what is in Johnny Bobbitt's mind. It certainly appears to have been a miscalculation on his part in hindsight. But look, maybe he just didn't appreciate that even this that the lawsuit would bring out this. He may not have known that all the money was squandered when he brought the lawsuit. He might have not known, and he might have thought that by bringing the lawsuit, if there was money left, it would get turned over. And all three of them had an interest in this story being fake, not being revealed.
Were you
Yes,
able
ma'am.
to confiscate anything beside the truck?
You mean seized or? Yes, there were a number of expensive handbags that we seized, some other jewelry, there was a car, and a few other items too.
How much can you return to those who donated that you've been able to recover? I mean, what's going to...
As I mentioned, GoFundMe has committed to refund all of it to the people who made donations.
Was there any cash left?
Zero.
So what happens to the BMW, the bags that they bought?
So we'll initiate a forfeiture process with that, and we use forfeiture money to go back into fighting crime. And so the good part about it is that the proceeds of this criminal activity will go back to fighting further criminal activity.
How much did relatives know? You mentioned in this detail that the mom had, suspicions, that other friends had suspicions. Should they have come forward to authorities, and how much did they know?
I don't want to talk about what each person knew and when, but I think they became aware over time. Look, it's asking a lot of a mother to come forward and turn in her daughter, but whether she should have encouraged her to come forward, get out of this. I don't think anybody that knows even a loved one is engaging in wrongdoing should encourage them to stop it and make amends. But we don't see any family members as complicit in the crime.
But they did receive some money from some of this donated money.
As we pointed out, that when the initial distributions were made, D'Amico and McClure did repay family members some money that was owed to them.
How much?
I think we estimate about $9,000.
Sir, what was the bail? Who paid it? And are they a flight risk?
There is no bail under New Jersey's criminal justice reform. And they would not have, under the criteria for detaining them, they would not have met that criteria. So we don't believe they're flight risks. They voluntarily surrendered yesterday at the time, even earlier than they had committed to. So we're confident that they'll continue to appear in court. As I mentioned, they are represented.
When is the first court date?
December 24th for Kate McClure and Mark D'Amico. For Johnny Bobbitt, that would await his extradition, and I'm not aware as I stand here today when that will be.
But are you as confident about Bobbitt if he were released, given the fact his holdings and things like that? Are you that confident he's going to be available?
Well, we'll take a look at Bobbitt when he comes over and he has his first appearance, and we'll make an assessment as to whether we would move to detain him. We did charge him under a warrant instead of a summons, partly because we had to have the extradition hearing, and partly, as is also discussed in our probable cause statement, there was some talk of him getting out of town in August when the heat from the dispute started to come on them, and some reporters were asking questions.
Have you ever seen a case like this before?
I've not.
Have you conferred at all with the civil case? I mean, does that dissolve at this point?
We have not had any consultation with the lawyers involved in the civil case. It's completely independent. That case has been stayed pending the outcome of the criminal investigation and now prosecution. Johnny would have to take a different look at the allegations that he made and whether he would want to pursue them depending on the outcome of this case.
You said there was some money
Do you
used.
know how the extradition process could take place?
I'm sorry, Sydney.
Do you know how early the extradition process could take place for Mr. Bobbitt?
You know, it's hard to say exactly. He may waive extradition, but even waiving extradition, it could take a couple weeks till we get him over in New Jersey. And we will let you know when his first appearance is scheduled.
You said there was money used to repay Kate's family. About the same time,
And D'Amico's.
there was a new Jeep and a rather large camper that was purchased. Is there any indication that GoFundMe money was used for either of those vehicles?
No.
Do they have a history of criminal arrest?
Mark D'Amico certainly does. He not minor violations and failures to appear, as he was picked up on failure to appear warrants. I think they were mostly traffic offenses in a couple months ago. And that was covered in the news. So I don't believe that Kate McClure has any criminal history. Johnny does have some criminal history.
So with somebody with a traffic history like that, would that typically influence what happens in this kind of a situation, whether there would be a push to try to get jail time or not? Not specifically in this case, but I'm saying in general.
Criminal history is a factor. Traffic offenses are less significant than more significant crimes.
I'm sorry to go back to this point, but was there anything at all about drugs when you did the raid? I mean, lesser charges that might not be indictable, but smaller charges like possession or anything like that that would indicate drugs in that home.
I'm not going to comment on any evidence that we found during the raid. One or two more?
McClure's a state employee, correct?
She is Department of Transportation.
Still a state employee?
The status of her employee, as far as I know, she was still employed until very recently. I don't know if she was on a leave of absence, and the Department of Transportation would have to assess these charges and decide what they're going to do.
Oscar, you said you did not speak to the attorneys for the three. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
You did not speak to the attorneys for the three.
I'm not commenting on my interaction with their counsel.
And you haven't said whether Johnny was interviewed. Is there any indication that Kate or Mark D'Amico are cooperating or providing any information?
I can't comment on whether any of the defendants are cooperating or not.
Prosecutor, what would the message be to anybody who's trying to think of this kind of a scheme that they figure, well, these guys made this mistake, or I can do this, or is there any words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Look, if somebody's thinking about doing wrong, don't do it. I mean, that's pretty simple, but the other reason is one day it'll be their picture on either side of me instead of these folks. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks a lot, sir. That's a souvenir.
They made it whole
That
thing.
means now you have to do a one-on-one.
You paid for the whole thing.
You realize you get a union fee for that? Yeah. You get a union fee for that.
Okay. Well, I'll put that in.
Sir, are you doing any, Mr. Prosecutor, sir? Doing any one-on-ones?
No, we don't anticipate any one-on-ones. We're going to let the litigation go forward.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Oh, you got everything?